Welcome to your deep dive. We're going to unpack some fascinating stuff today.
Yeah.
Looks like you've been exploring this relationship between, well, technology and our inner world.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like we're using Carl Jung to kind of make sense of it all.
Yeah, he's a good one for this.
Yeah, for sure. What really stood out to me was this idea of a silent spring, but for like our inner world.
Right.
Kind of like a wake-up call to how all this tech might be affecting us, on a deeper level.
Yeah, definitely. What's fascinating here is the source material isn't just talking about the obvious stuff, like
Yeah.
screen time and social media,
Yeah, we've all heard that a million times.
Exactly. This goes deeper.
Okay.
Like, it suggests the very fabric of our well-being. Like,
Mm-hmm.
our mental and emotional well-being is being shaped
Yeah.
by these forces of digital capitalism and posthumanism.
Okay, so break that down a bit for me.
Sure.
When we talk about this crisis of the inner world, like the source does, what exactly are we even talking about?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of different things,
Sure.
Some pretty alarming trends, actually.
Like what?
Rising rates of anxiety and depression, for one.
That's not surprising, though.
Right, but it's like this feeling our attention spans are shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're constantly bombarded with information,
Oh, yeah.
but can't actually absorb any of it.
Yeah.
And it goes even further. It even mentions our motivation and self-image are taking a hit.
Why is that?
Well, like we're constantly comparing ourselves to those curated lives we see online.
Yes. I hate that. It's so true, though.
Right. It makes it hard to feel authentic and grounded in reality.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where this idea of digital capitalism comes in, right?
Oh,
It's
okay.
not just the data we're generating. It's like our habits of mind,
Mm-hmm.
the way we think, feel, even perceive the world,
Wow.
you know? It's all becoming a commodity to be analyzed, predicted, and ultimately profited from.
That's a little creepy.
I know, right?
Like, even our inner world is being commodified.
Mm.
Okay, so how does Carl Jung, I mean, he was a psychologist, right?
Yes, he was.
And he focused a lot on dreams and the unconscious. How does that all fit into this?
He actually offers a powerful counterpoint to this idea, of the psyche as just another product to be packaged and sold.
Okay.
He saw the psyche, our inner world, as incredibly complex, dynamic, really, shaped not just by our experiences, but by these universal patterns. He called them archetypes.
Archetypes, okay. So, I mean, for those of us who aren't super familiar with Jungian psychology,
Sure.
could you maybe break down this archetype thing a bit more? What are they and how do they connect to our experience with tech?
Okay, so think of them like fundamental blueprints,
Okay.
like the original templates for common characters and stories, the ones we see throughout history,
Mm-hmm.
across cultures. You have the hero, the villain, the wise old man, the shadow.
Oh, I see.
All those figures represent fundamental human desires, fears, motivations.
Right.
But here's the interesting thing. Even in our tech-driven world, these archetypes are still at play.
They are?
Oh, yeah. Shaping how we interact with technology and how it impacts us.
Oh, wow. So you're saying that even though, like, technology is changing how we live and communicate,
Absolutely.
these deeper forces, almost like primal ones, are still influencing us, like on a subconscious level.
Totally. And it's crucial because it reminds us that we're not just, blank slates being programmed.
Yeah.
We have this rich inner world
No.
shaped by forces way beyond the digital.
That's a good point.
And Jung would say that inner world is not something to fear or control, but something to be, explored, understood.
Mm-hmm.
He believed by becoming more aware of our unconscious patterns,
Okay.
we could become more conscious creators of our own lives
Yeah.
rather than, just passive consumers.
That's empowering. So how do Jung's ideas about the stuff, about the psyche and these archetypes, how do they actually help us with this relationship with technology, What's the practical takeaway?
One of the most important takeaways is that the psyche isn't just passively receiving info.
Right.
It's a bridge
A bridge.
between our inner and outer worlds. Think of it like a meeting point
Okay.
between who we are on the inside, our thoughts, feelings, dreams, and the world outside, including, technology.
So like a two-way street, where our inner world shapes technology, but we also have the power to shape tech
Exactly.
based on our values and intentions.
Right. And Jung would say, pay attention to your inner world,
Okay.
explore your dreams, emotions, those impulses that often get, like, dismissed in our tech world.
Yeah, those irrational ones.
Yeah, exactly. And by doing that, we gain valuable insights into how tech impacts us
Mm-hmm.
and how we can use it in a way that serves our well-being, not diminishes it.
This is really fascinating stuff. Jung's work really does offer a different lens on this whole tech thing.
It does, doesn't it?
It
And
does.
it gets even more interesting. The source takes this bridge idea further.
Oh.
It's not just a bridge between inner and outer. It's also a bridge between the human and the cosmic,
Yeah.
the material and spiritual.
Okay, now we're getting deep.
Mm.
But I want to pause here.
Okay.
What about you listening? What are you making of all this?
Mhm.
Does this psyche as a bridge idea click with your own experience with tech?
Yeah, it's pretty wild to think about, right? The psyche is this bridge.
Yeah, and you're right. We're getting into some pretty deep stuff here, like
Okay.
how it connects us not just to our tech and ourselves, but to like something bigger.
Right.
That's what really got me thinking in this source material.
Mm.
It's not just a crisis of the inner world.
Mhm.
It's also like a spiritual crisis.
Yeah, I see.
This loss of meaning, connection
Yeah,
in a world that feels like dominated by technology.
it's everywhere.
Yeah, and that's where this whole reanimated world idea comes in, right?
Yeah, have you ever heard that term before?
I can't say I have.
Yeah, it's a new one for me too.
It's definitely intriguing,
Hmm.
but also like kind of elusive.
Yeah, for sure.
What does a reanimated world even look like? And how does it connect to all this stuff about tech and the psyche?
Well, it's not like the source gives us a super clear picture,
Yeah.
more like guidelines, I guess.
Okay.
But the core idea seems to be about shifting our perspective, moving away from this purely material worldview
Okay.
where everything's a resource to be exploited,
Yeah.
towards something more holistic,
Okay.
where spirit and matter,
Mhm.
the human and the technological, are seen as, well, interconnected.
So not rejecting technology, but like finding a way to make it work.
Yeah, integrated in a way that,
Yeah.
honors our humanity
Okay.
and our connection to something, well, beyond just the material.
I like that.
And that's where co-creation comes in.
Okay.
The
Co-create.
source is saying we're not just passive recipients of technology.
Yeah.
We can shape it,
Hmm.
guide its development
Okay.
in a direction that, aligns with our values.
It makes me think about all the ethical debates around AI. Oh, absolutely.
Like how it could either make us more human
Mm-hmm.
or, well, less.
Yeah, it's a big question.
It feels like we're at a crossroads.
Definitely.
And the choices we make now, well, they matter
They really do.
for the future.
And that's why the source puts so much emphasis on self-knowledge,
Right.
like understanding our own inner world,
Yeah.
our shadow tendencies, and our like deepest hopes
Mm-hmm.
as a foundation for this whole co-creation thing.
So before we can change the world out there,
Yeah.
we got to look inward.
Exactly. And this inner work,
Okay.
according to Jung at least,
Yeah.
it means confronting our shadow,
Oh, the shadow, right?
the stuff we tend to repress or deny,
Mm-hmm.
but that still influences us.
Okay, so how does that play out with technology?
Well, think about it.
Okay.
Our shadow might be like our addiction to social media
Oh, yeah.
or using technology to avoid dealing with stuff.
Right, like difficult emotions.
Exactly.
Or even, supporting unethical tech companies without realizing it.
It's easy to just get caught up in the fun stuff
Yeah,
and
totally.
forget about the downsides.
Right, but it seems like Jung's saying we got to be more aware
Yeah.
of this shadow side of tech,
Mm-hmm.
both in ourselves and the culture.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's not about blaming tech or like going off the grid.
Mm-hmm.
It's realizing that tech is like a mirror.
Oh, interesting.
It shows us our inner world, the good and the bad.
Hmm.
And by seeing that reflection clearly,
Okay.
we can start making better choices about how we use it,
Okay. I'm with you.
how we let it shape us.
Yeah. So what are some concrete things we can actually do
Mm.
to move towards this reanimated world? What does co-creation with technology actually look like, like practically?
Well, the source mentions a few things.
Okay, like what?
Cultivating a sense of wonder
Wonder.
and enchantment in our lives,
Okay.
reconnecting with nature,
Yeah.
with art and music,
Mm.
the power of human connection, the stuff that goes beyond the digital.
I love that. It's so true, though.
It is, isn't it?
It's easy to forget about all that when you're stuck in the virtual world.
And it's not about escaping tech completely.
Right.
It's about bringing that wonder and enchantment into how we use it.
Okay.
Asking questions like, how can we use tech to connect with nature
Mm-hmm.
or create art that inspires us? How can we use it to build real community?
So tech isn't the enemy.
No, not at all.
It's about using it for good. to
Exactly.
make the world better, more meaningful.
Yeah, more connected.
And that's where Jung comes in again, right?
Yeah, he gives us the language and tools to understand our inner world,
Hmm.
to face our shadow and tap into our creative potential.
I like that.
The source also talks about other thinkers, too.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
Right? People like Ian McGilchrist,
Mm-hmm.
James Bridle, Pierre Teilhard de Chardin.
Yeah.
Seems like there's this whole movement of people who are realizing
Yeah.
we need a more holistic, spiritual approach to technology.
That's hopeful.
It is, and it's not just about personal change.
Right.
It's about working together
Yeah, collective action.
to create a world that reflects our best selves.
Mm-hmm. A world where technology serves us.
Exactly, not the other way around.
That brings us back to this destiny idea,
Yeah.
leaving a positive mark. But
Mhm.
how do we actually do that? Like, how can we as individuals help build this reanimated world?
Well-
What are some real steps we can take?
I think it starts with being more aware,
Aware
of our own relationship with technology.
of. Okay.
Asking ourselves, how is it shaping me?
Mm-hmm.
My thoughts, feelings, actions?
Yeah.
Am I using it in a way that's good for me, that aligns with my values? What are my shadow tendencies with tech?
Yeah, the stuff we talked about earlier.
Exactly, and how can I address them?
Okay, that's great for personal reflection.
Right.
What about making a difference out there in the world?
Well, the source suggests supporting organizations
Okay.
that are developing ethical, sustainable tech,
Mm-hmm.
advocating for policies that protect our privacy,
Yeah, that's huge.
and promote well-being,
Hmm.
educating ourselves and others about the risks and benefits of this stuff.
Right, so we can make informed choices.
Exactly. And maybe most importantly,
That's it.
using our own creativity and passions
Yeah.
to imagine a better future
Okay.
and then build it.
I love that.
It's about reclaiming our power,
Yeah.
not just being consumers, but creators.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings us back to you listening.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on this whole idea of co-creating this reanimated world?
Hmm.
What are you already doing or want to start doing to make it happen?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to think we can actually help shape a more reanimated future with technology.
Totally. Like, we have more power than we think.
Yeah, it's about making conscious choices, right? Not just
Yeah.
getting swept along,
Exactly. And it starts with us, you know?
right, with our own lives.
Yeah, making it real in our everyday experiences. Remember the source talked about cultivating wonder and enchantment?
What pops into your mind when you hear that, especially with all the tech around us?
You know, it's funny. I think about those times when I'm totally offline.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I'm out in nature
Mhm.
or listening to music or having a deep conversation with someone. It's like time just slows down
I get that.
and I'm really present. You know, tech can be great, but it often pulls me out of those moments.
That's a good point.
Mm.
And the source emphasizes those moments, like where we're really present, really engaged with the world around us.
Yeah.
That's how we cultivate wonder and enchantment,
Mm.
reawakening our senses, noticing the beauty in the everyday stuff, appreciating how connected everything is.
We got to remind ourselves we're not just like minds scrolling through feeds.
Right.
We're living, breathing beings connected to something bigger.
Exactly. And that connection, that feeling of belonging to something greater, it gets lost sometimes,
Yeah, it does.
especially in this, individualistic, tech-driven culture we live in.
Let's
And the source is saying that reclaiming that connection is super important for us, for our well-being, and even for the planet.
I remember the source also mentioned individual destiny, like making a positive impact.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed kind of out of place at first, you know, talking about technology and all.
Yeah, I see that.
But now I'm seeing how it fits in with this whole reanimated world idea.
It makes sense when you think about it. Like, if we're going to co-create a future where technology actually serves humanity, then we each have a part to play.
So it's not just about changing ourselves, but working together, like all of us contributing to a better future, more just, more sustainable.
Exactly. The source suggests being mindful of the tech we support, the ways we use it,
Hmm.
and even thinking about, our legacy. What kind of world are we leaving behind?
It's a good question to ask ourselves.
It is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the biggest takeaway for you? What thought are you going to carry with you?
For me, it's this idea that we have way more agency than we realize. We're not just along for the ride. We get to choose how we engage with technology in a way that, feeds our soul, connects us more deeply to ourselves and the world, and helps create a more meaningful future for everyone.
Beautifully said. And to you listening, we hope this deep dive has given you some new ways to think about your own relationship with technology. Remember, this was made just for you, and it's your engagement that really brings these ideas to life. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep looking for those moments of wonder that remind you of all the beauty and possibility that's still out there. Until next time.